Would you say that her heroin addiction robbed you of your childhood?
I would never say it to her face, but I think so. I mean, it's not even that's not even the only place it's touched in my life either. Um, I had a friend it killed when I was in high school. It was after she left and after she came back. It was after all this when I knew more about it. I knew what it was. I knew he was doing it. And he was sick already. You know, he had a disease that was kind of robbing his body. And that, you know, he knew he was going to die because of it eventually. So I guess he just thought that he might as well um, he might as well enjoy the time he had left. If that's what you call it. Maybe he wanted to get away from it. Um, I remember because he lost his voice eventually. He, because of the disease and because I don't know why he would ever do this, but I guess when he was using, he shot it in his neck. I don't know why he would ever do that. I don't know much about how it's taken, I guess. But it ended up causing him to lose his voice. So when I left for college, you know, we couldn't talk on the phone. So we emailed and stuff like that. And I guess he didn't have a phone either, so we couldn't text or anything. So we emailed. And I kind of eventually, you know, I got caught up with school. I forgot to keep checking my email. After a couple of months, I decided, hey, I need to go back and check my email. There's a lot of spam. I wonder if, you know, he's messaged me. And I get this message in my inbox that I had never found. And, well, no, that's right, no, this was after he died. Yeah, this is after he died and I was checking my email to clear out the spam.
You found this email after his death?
Yeah, yeah, it was after his death. Um, I just,
How old was he? Was he your age?
yeah, he was 2 years younger than me. So, and at that time I would have been 19, so he was about 17. He was beautiful. He was just a gorgeous kid. But I found this email from him because, you know, spam. I was just in a room full of people that night, just checking my email, going through all the spam, and I think maybe that's why I had stopped checking that email. Was because I didn't need it. He wasn't here anymore. I didn't think to check it after that, and so I needed it for something. I went and cleared out all the spam, and I found this message from him, and it was from right before he died, and it said, you know, I think this is my last night here. I'm sorry. I love you. You're a great friend. You're amazing. If I don't talk to you again, you know, don't think this is your fault. Just kept saying like I love you and you're amazing and I'm sorry and goodbye. And I found this, you know, like I said, after he was dead, and I was floored because I knew what that meant he'd done. I knew that that meant that he had, I don't know. I wasn't home when he died. I was in college, so I didn't go to the funeral. I couldn't go to the funeral. His funeral was in California because that's where his family was. But I don't know. I guess I never checked to see why he had died. I thought it was the disease. I didn't want to know because I feared that it was from what he was using. And when I saw that, I knew that's why. Like I knew that meant that's what he'd done to end his life, so that he didn't have to be killed by his disease. But or I don't know if it was an accident. I don't know if he wrote that after he'd taken too much. It was kind of a manic email, and I couldn't tell if it was like that because he was dying or because he knew he was going to. And I just, it's just something I can't forgive. Because kids my age do drugs all the time. I've done drugs. Everyone has, my age, pretty much. Recreationally, hard or soft, whatever. It doesn't bother me until you get to this. Because I can't forgive it. And I know, it's all about the user, they had a choice. But they don't always have a choice. I mean, I from talking to my friend that overdosed, and I never talked to my mom about it, but it's got to be something pretty strong to make a mother leave her children. And from talking to other people that I know that have used, I know that it's like a chemical thing. After you dance with the devil, as it were, you can't always let go. And,
What drove you to use drugs? What drugs did you use, and how did you emerge without becoming an addict?
I always knew that I would never do the really hard things, heroin, meth. I knew from the get-go because of my life and because of just other things that my parents were good parents. They told me you might do this, you might do that, but don't do this. Don't ever do this. And I listened to them because I didn't want to throw my life away. I've done, the simple things, smoke weed, tried cocaine. Not worth it. And it can be cut with some bad things sometimes, so that's dangerous too. LSD, Molly, which is kind of like LSD, sort of.
You do realize that Molly hasn't existed on the East Coast for about 25 years. It's either crystal meth or crack. Combined with that poison.
I didn't know that. I did them because curiosity, I guess. Maybe somewhere.
But you didn't find it an objective way of trying to hide your emotional pain. You never went down that path. And what makes you different from Ron? Because most kids in your scenario follow that drug train. What makes you different,
and this is going to sound harsh, and this is not supposed to be a hit on my mother. Oh, I love her very much. But after she left, and when I was still angry, I wanted to do everything in my power to be nothing like her. I don't know if that came from that place of anger or abandonment. I just wanted nothing to do with who I found that she was at the time. And it went pretty far. It went past drugs. It went to me analyzing every behavior she's ever been and me trying really hard not to be any of those things.
Do you have
Reckless.
A rage? Is there a rage deep inside you?
I was surprised to find at one point that there was. I felt almost every extreme emotion to the highest level, I think. And they surprise me every time. There was a point in my life where, and it could have been the relationship I was in at the time. Some people bring out the worst in each other. Because when you're with somebody, sometimes you want to try so hard to understand them if you really care about them. And sometimes you can't, no matter how hard you try, because they can't either. And sometimes that gets so frustrating. Well, yeah, okay. Cutting was the worst thing I ever did. There was one that was really bad. It was probably the last one, I think. It was the worst one. It was when I was getting in a fight with that person that I was with that, just ended up making me crazy. And we gotten really violent with each other, and it was a really bad fight, and I felt so bad about it that I had that feeling again where I didn't want that rage in my body. I didn't want to be able to be that person. And I didn't know what else to do, and I got manic to the point where, I couldn't rationalize anymore, and it was a cross between, I think, because people say, you cut for attention, and that's not true in the sense that they mean it. Sometimes it's this unconscious thing where you want this person, if it's because of another person, you want them to understand your feelings. And it's kind of hard to say that, but in a way that you'll understand, I guess. But it's like, I want you to understand how much I mean this, how much I care, how sorry I am. And it's crossed between that and wanting to get something out of yourself. And, I just went into the bathroom, and I couldn't think, and, I had cut myself really deeply, and when I kind of came back into my head and realized what I'd done, it's the biggest scar I have, and, it was so deep that, I could see the fat coming out of my body, the skin, I could see the veins underneath it. And, that's when I got really scared of what I was doing, because, it hurt, and it's a risky thing to do to yourself, but that was, the worst one I'd ever done, and I got scared that, I had done it too much, and that I was going to bleed to death or something. But when you do something like that, you don't really want other people to know, so you don't want to go to the hospital. You don't want to admit that you've done that. You don't want to admit you've got a problem. So I kind of just patched it up and let it heal, which is kind of why it's raised and it's not really that pretty. And it didn't heal correctly, but it healed. And when I ever did recreational drugs, coming back to your earlier question, there's a sense of curiosity, when you're younger too. You're just like, oh, your friends are doing it. Do you want to try it? Sure. I do remember times when, I was in that bad place, and I would do those things, and it wasn't to the point where I ever wanted to, slip into something that would take me really far away for a long time. It would always be in the moment, and I would remember doing certain things, like LSD things, that would make you feel really good. And there would be this, at least for me, I don't know, I guess I kind of got a small understanding maybe of addiction through this. There would be this small feeling when you feel yourself coming down from it, or you don't want it to. Because even if your life at that time isn't really bad, you might be remembering things that were. You might feel really good, and you might sit there and be thinking all these things and feel great about yourself while you're on them. And just feel like you feel so in tune with things, and you just feel so good about yourself. And when you felt so bad about yourself for a long period of time, you don't want that to stop. You want to feel good about yourself. So there were times when I was on certain things like acid or Molly where you feel really good, and then you're up all night and you see the sun coming up, and you can feel the end of it coming, and it makes you kind of sad. Because it's like the end of the night, it's the end of the party, it's the end of the feeling that you're having right now. And it never got to the point where, I was always self-conscious enough where I realized that was okay, I needed to let it end. But there was always that the daylight's gonna end it, it's gonna end the night. And it's kind of a sad feeling, and I kind of thought about it once and thought that must be how it must feel on a small scale to be addicted to a drug, because it's like you just don't want that feeling to end. But I think at least in this society especially, if we grow up, if you have problems, like I was born with ADHD, doctors tried to give me Ritalin, try to fix it, even though I was a kid and I was just hyper. That's how I saw it. I was a hyper child. I didn't see anything wrong with it. Some people get prescribed medication to fix it. So when you have something that's out of the ordinary or isn't totally deadpan normal of a feeling, which is why I'm glad my dad didn't let that happen. And you know, I when I found out about that, I was a bit pissed at my mom for agreeing to that, because you know she's not really for that kind of thing. She's very individualistic. She's always, you know, supported my individualism. It's a funny contrast, because my dad, you know, he loves me for who I am. He loves me a lot. He encourages what I do. But, you know, sometimes, you know, the septum piercing, the hair dye, you know, he wants me to be a little less eccentric sometimes, because he wants me to have a good life. He doesn't want me to be different as far as, like, being treated differently. So, you know, he does things like, you don't get tattoos, you know, don't pierce your nose, it's silly. My mom's always been like, go for it, that sounds like fun. So it was just a weird contrast thinking about it, like my mom was the one that was going to be okay with me being on this drug. Messages. Yeah, exactly. It just didn't make any sense to me as a kid, but, I lost my train of thought. I think that with people my age, but just in society a lot, like when they, from an early age at least, I learned this, you know, if you're too different, there's something wrong with you, which kind of translates to if you have too many emotions, there's something wrong with you, which translates to don't talk about your emotions a lot, because there's going to be something wrong with you. If you're, you know, why are you so emotional about this? Everyone else is fine, which is bullshit, because everyone has problems, they handle them differently. So I think in my generation,
some people don't handle them at all.
Exactly, and that's I think that can be where drugs come in, because if someone grows up their whole life thinking there's something wrong with them, and they're not supposed to express their feelings, you know, they're like, well, what the hell's wrong with me? It's something to fix me, and they find this thing that makes them feel good. Right.
And now you start self-inflicting, and you're quiet, you don't tell anybody, you don't say anything about what's going on.
But you still have those emotions.
Yeah.
So it's like, what do you do to find an outlet for those things? And I think if someone finds a drug maybe that makes them feel good, that makes them feel like themselves, makes them feel like they can, you know, you can be weird on drugs. That's what you do on drugs. It's normal to be weird on drugs. So like if that becomes something where someone feels comfortable and they feel good while they're using it, like, and then you're in a society that thinks prescription drugs are okay. You know, take all these pills so you can be normal. Like, what kind of mentality is that to set up? Why wouldn't someone think that taking a hard drug just because it's not a prescription drug to make them feel good is any different? Even though there's some high risks involved with doing that, but then, you know, if you can't find another outlet, and I remember when I started making real friends here, you know, because I moved pretty far away from home, and I made superficial friends. I remember my freshman roommate, when I had just started talking about what happened to me when I was younger with the first boyfriend, with that whole thing, with the assault and everything, I started to learn that talking about it was bringing my memories back. It was helping me because I had kept it in for so long, and that was bad. That brought a lot of bad things to the surface that I didn't understand, like rage, like issues that I couldn't understand. I started getting night terrors, really bad nightmares, and I remember trying to tell my roommate, who I didn't have really good friends at this point. I had friends. I had the girls on my floor, and girls can be cruel. They can be fake. Everyone can be. But, you know, I'm a girl, so I can say that. And I tried to talk to her about it, and I knew she wasn't, like, the best person in the world, but, you know, I live with her, you know, I should be able to talk to her. I'm going to try this opening up thing to other people. And what she said, I still can't fathom. I really can't. I told her this horrible thing that happened to me, and I mean, it took a lot. You could tell. I remember the way I was talking. I remember how I choked when I was talking. I remember how I had a hard time getting it out. It wasn't, and I don't have an easy time telling it now, but back then, imagine, it was the third person maybe I told. It wasn't easy. I couldn't get it all out. I had trouble piecing it all together. And at the end of all of it, she just looks at me like it was nothing and just says, "Oh, so what?" So he just tried to put his in your mouth. Or something like that. Something so unfathomably insensitive. I couldn't understand like how that could be a reaction from somebody. It blew my mind. And luckily, I mean, that made me not want to talk about it, obviously, to anybody ever again, because I was like, well, okay, that's the reaction I'm going to get. I'm not going to get, but if that's like, that's the kind of thing that's going to happen when I try to tell somebody this. I'm trying to open up to them. If that's what's going to happen, I don't want to talk about it anymore. So I didn't for a while again. I stopped talking about it again.
Sure.
Right, because I thought that's how we handle things. It's going to be a normal thing, I guess. And it happens all the time, so I guess it's a normal thing. So
Would you say that her heroin addiction robbed you of your childhood?
I would never say it to her face, but I think so. I mean, that's not even the only place it's touched in my life either. I had a friend it killed when I was in high school. It was after she left and after she. He might as well enjoy the time he had left, if that's what you call it. Maybe he wanted to get away from it. I remember because he lost his voice eventually. Because of the disease and because I don't know why he would ever do this, but I guess when he was using, he shot it in his neck. I don't know why he would ever do that. I don't know much about how it's taken, I guess. But it ended up causing him to lose his voice. So when I left for college, we couldn't talk on the phone. So we emailed and stuff like that. And I guess he didn't have a phone either, so we couldn't text or anything. So we emailed. Came back. It was after all this when I knew more about it. I knew what it was. I knew he was doing it. And he was sick already. He had a disease that was kind of robbing his body. And, he knew he was going to die because of it eventually. So I guess he just thought that he might as well